to Pod Chat. My name is Annette Tarpley. I am the founder of The Passion of Poetry. And with me today, I'm delighted to announce I have the lovely Linzi Garcia. Welcome, Linzi.
Thank you, Annette. I'm so happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
Glad to have you. We've got 8 already on. You must have put the word out there or something. People are shooting on already. That's good.
That's great. I'm sure my parents are here.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. So, where are you from?
I'm originally from Evergreen, Colorado. I currently live in Emporia, Kansas, but I am sitting in Baltimore, Maryland.
Wow. You get around.
I do.
Wow.
I travel a lot.
So, do you miss Colorado? Colorado is a beautiful state. I've been there before.
I do miss it. I really miss being near my family. That's the hardest part.
Are Mom and Dad in Colorado?
Yes. And all my cousins and most of my aunt and uncles. And my brother is not anymore, so that makes it a little easier, but I miss it extra when he's there too.
I would like an invite to Colorado. No, I'm just kidding.
Anytime. Come join us.
I love Colorado. I haven't been there since I was a kid, but I just remember being mesmerized by it.
Where are you?
I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
Roanoke, Virginia, Southwest Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. I think that's West Virginia, but you know.
Beautiful.
I'm going to give the spotlight to you, and I'm going to have you tell us about you, because if I read your, bio, it'll be monotone and boring, and you can bring life to it. So I'll give the stage to you, Linzi.
All right. So I am Linzi Garcia. I am primarily a poet, though I write all sorts of things. I have one full collection called Thank You, published about 5 years ago. And then I co-authored one chapbook and one full-length collection. The full-length is called While Away with Kevin Rabus and Brett Seaton. And the chapbook, which I don't have a copy on hand, is called Live a Great Story, and they're all travel abroad poems. I currently work as the publicist and poetry editor for Meadowlark Press and its Poetry Press imprint. And I just love working with authors and artists of all sort. Both of my parents are artists, and my brother's a musician, and I found poetry.
Wonderful. So I love that. So you get your artistic genes, honestly. So who did you say was a poet? Both of them, or?
They're both visual artists. My dad is an oil painter, among other things, and my mom is a graphic designer.
Nice.
And I don't have any of that visual artistry. I can see something and like it, but I can't recreate it. So I'm glad I have words. I
recently started to do pour painting. That's rather forgiving. It's abstract, you don't have, so I have pieces down here still. I kept down here from one time when I showed them, but I'm not good at it yet, but at least it's something that you probably might hang on your wall. I don't know.
That's cool. It seems very mesmerizing.
Yeah. I recently did one. I did one that went wrong and put glitter on it in the wrong places. You can always doctor up something. So,
with art, nobody will know.
That's right. I'm a blingy kind of girl. So I'm really anxious to hear your work. So I think I'm going to give the stage back to you so I can listen. When somebody's referred to me, I usually don't delve into them too much. I like the surprise and the wow factor. So you do your thing.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with a poem from Thank You. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, visiting my best friend, Cami Olson, who is a painter, ceramicist, and jeweler. And she asked me to collaborate on a piece with her. She had a painting series, and here's a recreation of one of the paintings. And she wanted me to write a poem that went with the paintings. So it's called I Wish I Were a Garden. Plant me with the lavender. Braid my soft, dark petals between uncut blades. Press seedlings into each crease of my soiled skin. Wait. Nourish. Wait. Bury my root-turned toes to share kisses with worms and absorb the sky's sorrows. I will grow. You will wait to harvest me. Season by season, let the moon decide my shade. Let the bees arouse me and transfer my soul to the next sprig.
Beautiful.
Thank
Loved it.
you.
That is great. Loved it. And so is that whole book like her art and then you're doing a poem to each piece?
No, that's the only one.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yes, we broke the poem up into different lines to go with different paintings, and I'll include some pictures of those paintings in the event discussion.
Yeah, I would love to do a book because I use picture prompts often or title prompts or whatever if I'm, so inclined. But I would love to have that kind of collaboration with the artist where, you do, they do the artwork, you do the writing, the art, the word art. So that would be great.
Yeah,
That was a privilege. That was a unique experience. Now you said something about a chat book. Not sure what that is. What's a chat book?
so a chapbook is a really short collection of poems, usually somewhere between, say, 10 and 30 or so,
Oh,
or I guess, about 20 pages. And so they aren't full publications, but there are presses that specialize in chapbooks or presses that offer chapbooks.
yeah.
So it's just a really tiny collection of poems.
Well, that's cool though. I like that. That's
Yeah,
neat.
it is nice. They're easy to digest. You can
Yeah.
finish it while drinking a cup of tea.
My publisher lied to me when I first got them. They said I needed more than 40 poems. They didn't mention a chat book.
Some publishers don't do chapbooks.
Yeah, that's when I really got into poetry. So it was about 3 years ago, and then prolifically. So how long have you been writing? What age?
I think I started writing poems when I was about 12 or 13. Um, some gibberish. My older brother would recommend reading certain things, and so he introduced me to Edgar Allan Poe, of course. And so then I started writing dark, angsty things.
Yeah.
And then the more I was exposed to other poets, the more I wrote in those styles. And I find that still happens today, but so probably about 15 years or so.
Wow. Kudos to you. So does your brother write or he just appreciates poetry?
He writes some. He hasn't shared anything with me in a long time, but I bet he's still doing it.
Okay. Secretly, right? So he's older than you?
Yes,
Older
3
than you?
years.
Okay. Great. That's wonderful. I love that. So we had a little project. I'm a little leery about sharing mine, but I would love for you to share yours. So you came up with the title. What title did you come up with?
Not a Poem is the title.
Go for it.
I love poems about poetry. And Annette, I left my original one at home, so I had to recreate it. So we're in a similar boat. Not a poem. I have many poetic thoughts that will never become poems because they're not poems. Here are some examples. The way each person approaches their bite of food differently at this table. Him, teeth first. Her, tongue first. The twins, lips first. The way you can't tell if the girl by the campfire is crying because of the smoke in her eyes or the breakup. The blue of the fall bushberries, looking alien-like and out of place. These are not poems, and never will be, but rather practice at paying attention and finding the art in everything.
Beautiful. Loved it.
Thanks.
So mine, I wrote at the last minute, and I really haven't proofread it. And sometimes when I do voice to text, it gets my words horribly wrong. So keep that in mind.
This will be fun.
As I read this, it's funny because I actually came across a poem that was pretty much this title that I wrote a while back. But then I was reading it and I wasn't overly fond of it. Yeah. I remember getting comments on it though. It was something like, "This is not a poem." So not a poem. That's the name of this. If you reflect on your knowledge of literature, you may think this is not a poem. It may not contain the rhymes or stanzas you had once learned. Yet, If you take heed to the concept that poetry comes from the heart, perhaps you would consider this a poem. For my pen bleeds ink from a poetic vessel, from yearnings that desire to unleash words in creative fashion. Is it aesthetically appealing to you? Only you can decide whether or not it appeals to your receptive mind. Allow the circuitry of your brain to funnel my words into your cortex, allowing it to filter into your mind, processing the meaning. Do not let your preconceived ideas get in the way. Do not let stumbling blocks of thought hinder you from appreciating poignant simplicity. For there is beauty in simplicity that is not hidden behind riddles nor imagery that placates your emotions. Do my words at least solicit you to think in a way in which you have never thought before? Does my writing lack the journey to take your mind into a realm that has never been before or seen before? Or perhaps it has piqued your curiosity as to whether this is not a poem.
Very nice, Annette. You said a couple of really strong things that I agree with about the simplicity, how simple things can be poetic, and about thinking in a way you've never thought before. I think that's what makes a good poem.
Yes, indeed. When your mind, you kind of have that wow factor, like, whoa, that's deep. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get it entirely, but you've never thought of it that way before.
Yeah, I always preach the beauty of simplicity, that you can take simplistic words and choreograph them and create them and manipulate them in such a way that you can elicit those feelings and emotions. You don't need, it's really what you do with the words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that was cool. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. There's some errors in there. I try to muddle away through them, but I have to go back and edit it later. So
I'm sure I'll edit mine too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now you have two because you did your one that you forgot and you have your other one. So that's
I'm
great.
curious to see how they're different.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that amazing? Well, actually, that's what got me into poetry. Now that we say that, because I was going through my divorce a few years back, and I woke up in the middle of the night and stuff started going through my head. So I'm at a friend's house and I'm like putting it on my phone. She wakes up the next morning, I'm like, listen to this. This is great. And whatever it was gone. I think I did the on the phone thing where I deleted it and didn't know about it, fell asleep and it was gone. So then on the way home, I was trying to recreate it and kept stopping. It was like an hour and a half drive, kept stopping on the way home and created my masterpiece.
Wow.
Yeah. Broken Dreams, which is a good poem. Everybody kept saying you need to get that published. I'm going to go to comments and we'll see what we got here. Let's see. So everybody, please sign your names and tell us who you are at the end of your comment. Otherwise, we don't know who you are. You're just a Facebook user, as this shows. So hi, Linzi and Annette. Perfect rainy evening for a poet. Now that's something to write a poem about, isn't it? Rainy evening. Linzi's a wonderful poet and a splendid soul. I can tell that.
Thanks, friends.
And right on, Linzi.
Kevin
Love that.
Rabus.
Good you know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Who is it?
Kevin Rabus.
There you go.
That's his signature.
That's his signature. Then can verify. And this must be one of your parents. Oh, wait. You're not a teenager unless it's angry poetry. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, when you're a teenager, you need to. I actually wrote a poem today about an angry poet. That's what I wrote about. Probably wasn't in too good of a light, but.
Were they a teenager in your poem?
They're not a teenager, no. But it's trying to make a point. I like that smoke or breakup.
Thanks.
And whoops. Do you write best from angst or happy? This is Anne.
Hi, Anne. Ooh, I think I write best from whatever the strong emotion is. Um,
Yeah.
it comes clearest in whatever emotion that is. But I do write more happy things than sad things, I think, and I definitely don't write angsty, angry things as much. I
Yeah.
write some things where I find myself feeling disappointed and have to explore that feeling. Or sometimes I try to channel how somebody else might be feeling, even if it's an entirely fictional character, and try to
Yes.
write something from their perspective, in which case sometimes it comes out angsty because they seem like an angsty character.
Exactly. I do that sometimes too. Sometimes I do write out someone else's perspective or how they may be feeling, and of course everybody thinks it's about you.
Right, that's one of the
Everybody
problems.
thinks everything. I write a lot of fiction, I always say. So when people say something, and just because I wrote it doesn't mean it's happening in my life. I sometimes just say I write a lot of fiction.
Exactly. I say,
Um,
yeah, it's either entirely fictional or maybe entirely true or a little bit of both, but you'll never know.
I know. I'll send you a poem if I didn't later. Did I send you the video of the the hunger of the poet?
No.
I'll send it to you later. It talks about this.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it talks about kind of where we take things, and um, and I refound it recently, and after looking at it, I was like, wow, I wrote that. It's
Right.
kind of one of those moments of, wow, I guess I really wrote it. It has my name on it, so yeah, I must have wrote it.
That is an interesting
Greetings
feeling.
from Chile. That's Christian Romero Diaz. He was on last night. Hey, Christian.
Wow, thanks for coming.
And hi, Lindsay. Enjoying your words ahead of our reading at Emporia State. This is Curtis Mullins.
Hey, Curtis. Yeah, he's got a reading tonight too with a couple of our other Emporia friends. So they're popping in before they have to
Oh,
go over there. So thank you guys.
I wonder if those are a couple of the names that I got too. I got a bunch of names, so always looking for new talent. So here we go. Oh, yes, Lindsay is a wonderful poet and a splendid soul. Bart Elderman.
Thanks, Bart.
Wow. You
Appreciate you.
You have 18 viewers. That's a lot for this. Usually, most people don't watch it live. You're getting close, and that might be a actually a record. So we'll see.
Well,
Wow,
thanks,
thanks.
everyone.
Yeah. Now it went down to 17. Somebody left. But for a moment, we were 18. So if we can get into 20, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? And then we have a hi Lindsay from Chris Carlson.
Hi, Chris.
And we have beautiful poems, both of you. You are welcome to join us anytime in Colorado. I would love to. This person who never gets to go on vacation. I almost took a temporary job in Colorado just a few months ago, but
Oh.
was worried about the elevation at the time. I didn't know if it might. I read all kinds of things about sickness, and I don't know. I was in Colorado before, and it didn't seem to bother me. So, but I'm older.
Yeah, it's possible.
Considerably.
Have to take some
Yeah,
precautions.
yeah, I'm considerably older. So, how would you define poetry, Lindsay?
I would define poetry, and I've been listening to some of your other recordings. So I'm going to pull a little bit from that and a little bit from what I think and agree with. And something we've already said is I think poetry is saying something in a clear way that makes us think of a common experience in a new way. I think that poetry can be a lot of different things. I think primarily they're moments, but of course you have entire epics that give really, really long stories. But I think more often than not, they are these moments, these feelings, these beautiful things that we want to capture. At one point, Todd Cirillo said something about how every poem is a love poem. And I think that that's a really neat thing to think about, for better or worse. Because I think that a moment has to really have an impact on you in order for you to want to create something out of it. So I think as a poem is an artistic creation that makes us think of something in a new way.
Maybe it's a love poem because we give birth to it. So you have to have love when you give birth, I guess, right?
That's beautiful. I
And
have a poem about that.
I never did either until just now. So it's a eureka moment.
Poetry right there.
Poetry. So yeah, I have to look back at this because I'll forget what I said. Think, what was it that I said? So I'm going to give the stage back to you. I want you to read 2 or 3 poems, whatever you like. When you're done, just say hey, hey, and we'll come back and chat.
Sounds great. So on that same topic, here is a poem called Radiance. At 33,000 feet, somewhere above Colorado, my birthday sunrise bleeds the same way my mother bled, from the horizon. Beyond blood, radiance. I will also read some travel poems for you. I find that travel inspires me a lot as well. And I think it does for a lot of artists, especially writers. So New Orleans is one of my favorite places. I've got a lot of poems about New Orleans. So here is one called Me and New Orleans. I dreamt of the city and its people, of all the wonderful things I could do with them. Awakened by a second line, I lie on the couch, smile as it passes. I almost forgot I was still here. With only hours left before I leave, I walk out the front door to take it all in one more time. It's just me out here on the corner of Rampart and St. Ferdinand. Me and that tabby cat. Everyone else is going to bed or still sleeping the weekend off. Me and the blooming magnolias. Fishermen casting their first line into twilight on Lake Pontchartrain. Me and that sweet jasmine air. Lovers somewhere about to make love for the last time. Me and New Orleans.
That's great. Are you still wanting to go? You want one more?
Sure, I'll read one more. The next one is also a travel poem. It's in While Away, written with Kevin Rabus and Brett Seaton, and it's about Omaha. Exploring Omaha. London pigeons stay on the ground. Omaha pigeons stay in the sky. I am always in a room in between. I have a car, but choose to walk. Smile at passersby. Omaha pigeons nest in ornate condemned theater windowsills. Repurposed, not wasted. Naked marble lady in that window over there, I see you. They see her riding and walking. Tell her she's not from here, not like anyone here. And she knows she's not from here. But she also knows there are others like her. Simple servants out to make the most of this precious life.
Wonderful. Enjoyed those. You know, I used to live in Omaha for a very brief period of my life.
Really?
Yeah. But I went there a few times over the years. We had some family friends that lived there that were very near and dear to us. Yeah. So I have a lot of fond memories of Omaha.
You have any poems about Omaha?
I don't. I haven't. Well, but I did write about a year ago. The patriarch of the family died, who was very dear to me. He was my dad's good friend, and I wrote a poem about him and sent it on Facebook to several family members. Never heard a word back.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you wrote it. It was meaningful to me.
I wrote it, but no one ever responded to it. So, you know, it is what it is or isn't. Rather strange, I thought, but it's okay.
That is a strange thing about putting out poems, whether you send them directly or you publish them. You never know if anybody's actually going to read them. If you're lucky, somebody will let you know that they read them.
Yeah. That is, yeah, that's the thing about poems. Like you're exactly right. So we have a let's see, more comments. People are going to town. Let me see. Did Lindsay from? Did we ever see this one from Sarah Long?
Hey, Sarah. Sarah's a great
And,
artist as well.
oh, great! And then we have a Kill It, Lindsay, Jake St. John.
Thanks, Jake. Good to have you.
And then we have, sorry, my computer tagged you. And then I was trying to type my name. Make sure you sign your thing so we know who you're from. And this is from Anne. She has a question for you. Here we go. Do your teenage poems still reflect your poetic soul?
Mm.
Good question. Good question. Yeah.
I think so, Anne. I think that it's been in there from day one, and it just shows my evolution as a person and a poet.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, earlier I think we all kind of write some types of dark things sometimes, but you don't want to stay there, right? We kind of have to evolve from that and move on. I've never been to New Orleans. I don't know.
No?
I might be shocked if I go to New Orleans. I'm not sure. I'd like to travel more. I just don't. And then favorite is Anne from New Orleans.
No, Anne's in Kansas.
Anne's in Kansas. Okay. How'd you get to Kansas, by the way?
College. I didn't expect to go to Kansas. I applied to a lot of different other schools, and they were the only ones that seemed to really want me there and gave me a nice scholarship. And so I thought it was just far enough away to have a new experience and just close enough to get back for important things or just because. And then I stayed.
Good. So you made a lot of friends, apparently, and you found your little niche in Kansas.
That's right.
You clicked your heels 3 times and said there's no place like home. That was Kansas.
Turns out home is Kansas.
There you go.
Surprise.
Surprise. And then we have a beautiful Lindsay, Julie, your California sister.
Hi, Julie. Another phenomenal poet.
And then I love my flight home.
Thanks. Oh, well, thanks, brother.
And then wonderful words. And let's see, so proud of you. So I don't know if that's mom or dad. Maybe mom and dad. I don't know. And oh no, a Dorothy reference.
Signed all.
I imagine that is just like Kansas people are probably just tired of that, right? The Dorothy reference.
There are some who are pretty gung-ho Wizard of Oz fans, so they're important to have around.
Did you watch Wizard of Oz when you were little?
I did.
Did anything scare you in the Wizard of Oz?
Probably. Not that I recall. I was more scared of things like X-Files and staying with babysitters.
It's funny because my son, who is now, I don't know, 24, 25, don't tell him I can't remember for sure. He was scared of the tornado.
Oh.
Like horribly scared. Even when I showed him how they created it, because they had this little video about how they created, I think it was like with a cloth or I don't know, something. And he just had nightmares forever. I kept trying to tell him we live in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We live in a valley. There's mountains surrounding us that protect us and so forth and so on. And
not going to get tornadoes.
No, but where I came from Iowa, I had a bad one about, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. My grandma was living in the 5th top floor of this high-rise kind of retirement building, and it went down Main Street where she lived. And it was a bad tornado, yeah. So, yeah.
I am terrified of tornadoes now.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the mountains, but now
you get them there, right?
Yeah.
I can remember just taking my kids a lot in the middle of the night with the radio, the flashlight, going down to the basement, just waiting. Sirens would go off. Do they have sirens that go off there?
Yeah. And every Monday at noon, they test them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell you live in the Midwest when you go through that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was new to me.
That's right. So I'm going to ask you the question. What is the question that I ask everyone since you've been watching?
You ask about 3 wishes. Is that the one that you're going for?
Yep. So you come across Aladdin's lamp. You get 3 wishes. Anything you want. What are you going to wish for?
Wow, Annette. This is what I've been struggling with most. I did a lot of other preparation, but my first wish would be to be provided with exactly what I need at that time. My second wish would be, and this is probably a typical wish, but for my loved ones and beyond to live happy, healthy lives. And my third one, if it's up to me, I will do the classic of wishing for more wishes.
There you go. There you go. Wishing for more wishes. That's great. I would just like a bagazillion dollars so I can, like nobody ever says that. It's always really nice things and humanity and all kinds of other things.
Right. World peace.
I'm gonna wish for a bunch of money so I can like make everyone's life happy and be a great philanthropist or something. What would you tell young poets about putting it out there? I'm assuming putting it out there what in any type of media, whether it's Facebook or um,
I would say, be brave. Put those poems or other writings out there. Put your art out there. I mean, it's really scary, but you have to start if you want it to be less scary. And if it's something you want to do about putting it out there, about expressing themselves. That it's okay. We all have feelings. It's great to express ourselves, and it's healthy and necessary. And that's why we
is that what she meant instead was putting it out there as far as releasing all your thoughts, emotions?
Maybe.
Or is it sharing?
We'll address both. I say it's also really important to feel like you have an environment that supports you. I think
expressing themselves, she says, yeah.
Expressing yourself in, around people that are there to where you can be safely vulnerable. I used to have a couple of different monthly poetry series, and one was primarily undergraduate college students. And it was incredible how many people who would not normally come out to things like that came out because they had to express themselves in some way. And whether that was music or art or poetry or other literature, a lot of plays, just finding something where you feel it resonates with how you best express yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's satisfying when you realize that you're not the only one and someone says, oh, I know how you feel. And
yeah. And maybe sometimes you won't have that, unfortunately, where people will say, ooh, that was a little much, or why would you share that? In which case, don't take it personally. Keep moving on and keep validating your own feelings. And try again.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to be a little obscure in my writing. I'll talk in not in riddles that you can't figure out, but just in enough of a riddle where it isn't blatantly out there. It's kind of behind the scenes a little bit, but you might know what I'm talking about, or you might not know what I'm talking about.
I appreciate poems that have layers. I like if it can have a clear meaning when you had just read it once over. But then if you start peeling back the layers and you start analyzing it a little more, I get a real kick out of that. And I find it's really interesting when you can say maybe the poet was feeling this way or is saying this, whether it's a metaphor or juxtaposition of some sort, those other poems.
Love metaphors. So I love this. Your audience, I don't even have to ask you questions. Here you go. For me. So here we go. This is from Julie Vallon. Do you find that being a poetry editor helps inspire your own work?
Certainly. Yes. I think whatever I'm reading and whatever I'm editing at the time definitely impacts the way that I write and the way I review my own work. I think that trimming down all the unnecessary words is the biggest part. So when I see other writers doing it well, I think, oh, I can do that. Or if they use certain spectacular words, I want to use spectacular words. Or how they structure it. Or mostly, a lot of times, it's how they organize a collection of poems. Something else that Todd Strillo said to me once was that a poetry collection should read in the same way an album, plays start to finish, where it should have, its ups and downs and rhythms. And whenever I'm editing a poetry collection, I think of that. I think of how it's organized, why it's organized that way, how it achieves something or maybe misses it a little bit. So maybe a poem needs to go in a different section. But absolutely it affects the way that I write and edit my poems.
When you look at poems and you look at poetry, do you look for the clincher? I mean, do you look for that last line to really bring it home?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's important, isn't it? Just kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad when a poem fizzles out instead of hits hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Gotcha. And then we have love and wisdom on here. And we have, what is this? Is your writing style changed at all? If so, do you have a poem that represents change? I would like to know if you have a signature poem.
Ooh. All of these are good questions. Yes, my writing style has changed. I have poems that I feel are my signature poems based on the style I was writing in then and now. I think if I had to choose a signature poem, I would go with Spew from my first collection, Thank You, because it was the first time I wanted to be really bold in my writing. And now I notice that that's how I'm writing more so these days. Yeah.
Do you have Spew there so you can?
I do. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Okay. Sorry you have to hear me say naughty words, Mom. I want to say what's on my mind. But know that what's on my mind is grungy and raw and kind of smells like a flower shop with a hint of urine. I want to know I have the power to hurt people and just hurt everyone a little bit for a little second, like a pine needle in the ass or a too hard high five. I want to not live in a limbo of professionalism and agony artistics. I want to create and create and create and fuck and create and drink too much coffee and get sweaty and cold. I want to gnaw at the hand of inspiration and spew the chunks that fell off in my mouth. I want to read poetry in the women's restroom and climb as many buildings as I can. I want to pretend to jump off and make everyone suck the air in real quick and intense. I want to make out with a book and get pregnant by swallowing its ideas. I want to birth its baby book and burn it. I want to spread its ashes on my softest parts and let tomorrow swallow me. And I want to not want so goddamn much.
I love that. That was great. That was great. Love it. You spewed it out there, girl.
That's right.
Woo.
Way different. Way different.
Do you think that there's any taboos in poetry? Like if you're editing, you're editing for people to get their works published, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So are there any taboos in your editing world that something you're not going to publish?
Not particularly. I think if it's written well, you can write about anything. I think a lot of times people think that by just using curse words or talking about drinking or drugs that they automatically think it's edgy and that they're writing about something that's normally taboo. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's a matter of whether something can be written well or not.
Yeah. We have some comments going on here. I have to well, after you said that, Julie said, burn it, baby.
Thanks.
And then I'm guessing this is from Dad. So, who says, Mom is shocked and says, you're grounded. Love that. That's so funny. I'm sure they're very proud of the lovely person that you have become. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, but I love that you're grounded.
I've never been grounded, but today might be the day.
It might be the day. Oh, yes, it might be. So apparently, I was used to say in parenting, it's good to strike when the iron's cold and not hot. Maybe Mama was striking when the iron was hot and not cold. So you're grounded. You're grounded for life. So, and then
That's
we have another comment. Here's another good thing from Bart Elderman. Where do you see your creative, poetic spirit in a few years down the road?
Wow, Bart. I think
Good
I'll just keep
question.
growing. I think I'll keep experiencing things, and whatever those experiences are will affect what I do creatively. I find myself surrounded by a different set of creative people than I had in my, last version of myself.
Yeah.
And I think that the creative people I'm around really affect what I'm doing creatively. And again, what I'm reading and what I'm editing and what I'm experiencing will all affect what I'm writing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that I find for myself that I don't like being boxed into a certain format or a certain style? I like to change it up. Do you do that as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like
I
doing
think that's
that.
important. It helps you grow.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, if you write the same way every time, and okay, so we are so proud of Lindsay. I'm guessing that's from your folks. More poems, please. Yes, indeed. So why don't you go ahead and read 3 poems,
Okay.
and let me give the stage back to you, darling.
Thank you. Here's some short ones. This one is called Still Learning. I want to eat a fig off of your tree, but I don't know how to eat a fig. Besides, which tree is yours? This one is called Snow Day. Everyone's tracks are visible, if they're going out at all. Nobody murders on a snow day. And this one is called The Prettiest Poem. Sometimes it's not about writing the prettiest poem. It's about pinning that poem to your back pocket, taking it out dancing, not letting anyone read it, ripping it off, crumpling it up, tossing it to the floor at last call, and never seeing it again. There were 3 short ones for you.
Those were short, so short I couldn't get to the button. I was like, those were short. Those were cute. I like those. So tomorrow is your last day to write a poem for whatever reason. Let's just say it's your last day. What is the title of your poem?
I got to go back to thank you. It's my life philosophy and just the final expression I'd want to share. Yeah,
I
it would be a
like
poem
that.
about gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you is good. I like that. And if you could be an animal, what animal would you be?
Whoa. I should think about this more. Well, I have a few people who I love and trust who refer to me as a butterfly. So I guess I have to trust them on that because I guess it's not what I would normally pick, but if that's how I come across, butterfly it is.
A butterfly is a great thing. Just think about it. New life, you've metamorphosized into something beautiful.
Pollinate,
Oh, you get to pollinate? Yeah. Mhm.
all good things.
You get to play with the dragonflies, all kinds of
And probably end up being a nutritious meal for another creature.
probably. Probably. I once wrote a poem. It's a conversation between a flower. It might be a flower and the butterfly, or maybe a flower and a bee. But but they're conversing, they're having this conversation, and the bee or whatever is telling the flower how beautiful it is and how lovely you are, and then the flower is saying, "But you just want to harm me. What you were going to do hurts." And I mean, it was this weird conversation. I don't know where you even got that, but it was
That's
this weird
cool.
conversation. In the end, one of them was trying to woo the other one into marriage. I don't know. It was strange. Kind of funny where your mind will lead you. I love these poems, Lindsay. Love these short poems. Art form in itself is splendid. It is. Those short poems would go good with the good sales thing for different gifts and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I like to include them in
Cards,
letters I
gifts.
send.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
something for you.
Do you have? If you could do a quote, instilling wisdom for a future generation, what quote would you give them?
Be bold and ready to learn something new.
Good. I like that. Be bold and be ready to learn something new. Very good. Very good. Is there any certain genre that you write most about?
It depends on what I'm going through at the time, I think, or who I'm around. Like when I was a reporter, I wrote a lot of poems about being a reporter. And when I was a bartender, I wrote about being a bartender. And when I was an academic, I wrote about these academic situations. Yeah. So really, it's interesting. It's cool to see how what I spend most of my time doing affects my creative self too. Because a lot of people try to separate that, but I think it really informs my creativity.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. You're very creative. Do you delve into anything else? I know you said earlier that you couldn't paint, but is there anything else that you do that's creative?
Um, One thing that I find is really interesting about doing the poetry editing is that for each book I put together, I have to write a book description. And that's really challenging, trying to tell somebody else what their book is about in, 75 words.
Yeah.
It's really challenging and a good creative practice. It makes me a better reader and a better writer. Um, Otherwise, I like to do multimedia things. I'm really into crafting. I like to just experiment. I'm always willing to try something new. I love music. I used to play piano and bass guitar and sing, and so I try to do that where I can. Um,
Have you
and
written lyrics then? Have you written songs?
I tried, but everybody thinks that poets are inherently good lyricists, and that's not true. I can't write lyrics very well. At least I
I
haven't yet. Maybe
I
I
think
can,
I
and I just
I
haven't.
think I can someday. I think I can.
Right, right.
In my mind, I think I can, but that's like, in my mind, I do lots of things. In my mind, I can skate like, yeah, ice skate or something. So in your mind, you can do lots of things. So when it
Right.
comes to reality, it's another thing.
I like
Is,
to
is there something that you wish you could do that you can't?
I wish I could, draw and paint better. I wish those classic visual arts were some sort of gift I had. But and maybe again I just need to keep practicing, but I feel like I've tried pretty hard. It just hasn't come. Last night, my best friend and I went to a pottery throwing class, and that was really fun. That's something that I might want to try more of, making
I
bowls and
bet,
cups.
but you have to have strength in your hands and stuff when you do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't have that so much, but it looks like it would be so much fun. It really does.
it's a good time.
Yeah, I bet it was. I bet it was. So, who would you say, um, in your life, who has molded you most into being Lindsay who she is?
Wow. I think each of my family members, of course. I think that the most basic life lessons were instilled well at a young age. And my brother has been a huge influence and inspiration. He's introduced me to most of the things I like, whether it's music or art or literature. And then I branched off and found my own things. But I think that those early years of just being creative in a bunch of different ways and exploring the world and being kind and trying your best and having fun, I think that was a good foundation. And then I was able to branch out in my independent ways to figure out who I am on my own.
Yeah.
And Anne Anderson, who's commented a couple of times, she has a great quote that says, try your best and have fun. And so those are things I think of every day, just trying my best and having fun.
Exactly. We got a comment from Todd. Linzi, you are a true talent. I will proudly bring your poems to the bar anytime. Thanks for the inspiration and the shout out.
Thanks, Todd.
I take my daughter bartends on every few months, not often. I stop by there and the regulars know me as Mom, you know.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But I share my poetry wherever I can, so I try to get somebody drunk enough to listen, you know.
I like inserting poetry in situations it's not normally experienced.
Yeah. You're too kind, sister. Is that your brother? Is your brother watching?
Yeah. Thanks, brother. It's true.
Your brother's name is
Linzi Garcia.
There you go. Hey, brother.
We just call each other brother and sister.
Well, of course. Yes. Of course. You call him bro? Does he call you sis? I don't know.
Not so much.
Not so much. Brother and sister is good. That's great. I'm glad.
Hi, cousin.
You have a cousin too?
Yeah, not sure which one, but hi.
It's like a family reunion.
Little pregame for Thanksgiving.
Love that. I'm going to have you share. Why don't you share 3 more poems with us? Great. Go for a little longer.
Perfect. These ones are a little longer.
Okay.
I'll start with the short one and I'll build up. This one is called Last Wishes. It's written about and for Jason Reberg, who is the publisher at Spartan Press. Jason wants to be buried with a maple seed planted in his ribs, so its roots will burst through his body. He'll keep his pattern of getting busted up. He wants the tree to be big and gnarly, so we'll see his face in the bark. This next one is called Bad Luck Clovers. I used to pick 4-leaf clovers from the patch in my front yard. Quickly, though, it seemed that for every clover plucked, something else had to die. I lost friends, family, pets, everything that came into my care. 1 per clover. After making the connection, I roped off the patch with caution tape, stopped letting the children play near it, stopped the gardener from mowing it all down. I haven't killed anything since. And this one is called A Good Hater. It's in that chapbook, Live a Great Story. I had this awesome experience of going to a Walt Whitman conference for his 200th birthday, hosted in England, of all places. So this is about that. In a room full of Whitman scholars, someone says Whitman was a good hater. And I know he would hate the way we gather in this swanky London hotel. Pick apart his handwriting, his misused dashes, bicker over his loopy doodles of sperm mid-swim. I know he would hate the way we quote him when he himself said quoting is a thing that gets to be a disease. Would he hate how we stay and listen until the end, even when we don't want to? Would he understand this way that we love him?
Love that. Love the clover one. So clever.
Thanks.
I was just thinking the whole time you were reading it. Wow, where did she get that? That's because that is just a concept that I think few would actually conceive. It was great. It was so creative. Yeah, I loved it. We have a love you. Is your grandma here too?
Yes. Hi, Grandma.
I feel like you're my family.
Sure.
Can you adopt me? I don't have a grandma anymore. I could use
Sure.
some cousins and, stuff. Somebody wants to learn English. Not sure what that's about.
Well,
So
I
there you
think
go.
poetic translations are a good way. Read some Pablo Neruda.
Although it's not always proper English we use. We
That's true.
sometimes veer away on purpose. People
Yes,
say, yeah, I purposely make it so it isn't, grammatically correct. So I did that on purpose.
I
Do you
think
do
about.
that as well?
Oh yeah, I mean that "Me in New Orleans" poem. It pains my academic heart to say "Me in New Orleans" every time, but poetically, it just makes better sense.
Yeah, yeah. There's this time you have to break the rules. You got to be a
That's
rebel. You got to break the rules.
I love purposefully breaking the rules.
So now I want you, before you leave and before we leave, I want you to describe Lindsay to us.
Whew.
Someone was going to describe you. How would they describe you?
I think Linzi Garcia is incredibly optimistic and enthusiastic. I'm always here to support you, unless I think what you're doing is bad, in which case I'll let you know. I my best friend just poked her head around the corner and said it's true. I try to find the art in everything. I give people the benefit of the doubt. And I love to explore near and far.
Beautiful. So look what you all created, mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister. You got this great, wonderful being that you've been able to love for all these years. You don't have to tell how old you are, however many years she's been here on this earth. So, what a blessing you are. And it's been such a delight to have you and to listen to you and to get to know you and the beautiful soul that you are and will continue to be. And look, you're only growing, you're only going to get better. So, as you reach near perfection, none of this is ever perfect, but you will reach near perfection.
Well,
So,
shucks. I've had so much fun. And thank you for doing what you do and supporting poetry in the ways that you do. Thanks for including me on this. I feel very, very happy and grateful to be having this conversation with you, and so happy that so many people could join us. That was really cool.
you had a grand slam audience. So kudos to you. So you have a lot of supporters. So that tells me a lot about Lindsay.
Oh,
That you got so many people to join us tonight. So love and blessings to you all. Thank you so much, Lindsay. You are the epitome of loveliness, and it's been so nice to get to speak with you and get to hear more of your work and just know more about Lindsay.
well,
So
thanks,
keep
Annette.
doing what you're doing too.
Right back at you. Yeah.
Okay. So goodbye, everyone. Love and blessings to everyone. And thank you so much, Lindsay. You're wonderful.
Thank you. You too, Annette. Good
Good
night,
night,
everyone.
everyone.